to support the sentiments that have been so far expressed by my colleagues, but to also add my voice to the growing global movement against the death penalty. And I do want to begin by thanking the member for Fremantle for bringing this motion to the House. I'd like to express my condolences, Deputy Speaker, to the families and loved ones of Andrew Chan and Myuran Sukumaran, the two Australians who were executed in Indonesia by firing squad on April 29 this year. I'd also like to extend my sympathies to the families of the 6 other prisoners who were similarly executed alongside Andrew and Myuran. Now, Deputy Speaker, the 8 executed human beings did not deserve to die in this manner because, as I have also said previously in this place, some 10 years ago, when the Australian Van Nguyen was faced and ultimately executed in Singapore, no one has the right to take the life of another human being under any circumstances, and in particular, Deputy Speaker, by state-sanctioned execution. So in the wake of this tragedy and with regard to the continued practice of state-sanctioned killings in a number of countries, Australian parliamentarians have an opportunity to be an example of and to show strong bipartisan commitment supporting the global abolishment of the death penalty. So with this in view, I'd like to congratulate the member for Barawa and the member for Fowler, who co-convene the Australian Parliamentarians Against the Death Penalty group. And I myself have joined this group, and I'm very much committed to the aims and objectives of the group. Our aim is to raise the issue of the death penalty in the media and in bilateral meetings, as well as parliament-to-parliament discussions. We also aim to express opposition to the death penalty in meetings with ambassadors, with elected officials and with foreign dignitaries, and also conversing with advisory groups and legal experts about approaches to end state-sanctioned killing worldwide. Now, in line with joining the parliamentary group, Deputy Speaker, I also take this opportunity to today express my strong opposition once again to the death penalty, and to perhaps suggest make some proposals about how Australia should be part of the global movement against, or in an effort to end this very barbaric practice. One frequently mentioned argument against the death penalty is the lack of evidence supporting the claim that it effectively deters crime as opposed to other punishments. Professor Jeffrey Fagan, who is Professor of Law at Columbia University in the United States and who previously appeared as an expert witness for Andrew and Myuran, maintains that there is, and I quote, no credible scientific evidence that the death penalty deters criminal behaviour, quote unquote. He goes on to argue that, again I quote, that even when executions are frequent and well publicised, as was the case with Andrew and Myuran's executions, there are no observable changes in crime. The absence of any scientific evidence to support the effectiveness of the death penalty compounds the more fundamental moral argument that state-sanctioned killing diminishes the value of human life. Simply put, Deputy Speaker, it is never justified for the state to take human life. There's been growing global support for this perspective, and clearly it appears that the debate today is in line with that growing global support. Whilst 100 countries around the world have the death penalty, only 21 continue to use capital punishment. And of those countries that continue to carry out executions, using the death penalty as a punishment for crime has decreased by more than a third in the last decade, and that is indeed a welcomed sign of perhaps the beginning of the diminished towards abolition of the death penalty. So with the decline in the use of the death penalty worldwide and the current global push to abolish the practice, it is time that parliaments and parliamentarians around the world demand, I think, a moratorium on capital punishment. Parliamentarians for Global Action, which is a non-profit, non-partisan international network of parliamentarians, established a global parliamentary platform for the abolition of the death penalty. Their aim is to support the individual initiatives of parliamentarians worldwide and to launch a coordinated and targeted actions in selected countries, as well as bringing awareness to this issue. I think we ought to, as a parliament, support the efforts of the PGA, and I think that we should use every opportunity we have, certainly in relation to our parliamentary duties, to raise awareness, especially with colleagues in our regional neighbourhood, because I think that that's the best way to begin this dialogue and to pursue the abolition of capital.